Dun, 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 dun. We are live, and you know what? We're gonna probably need some headphones ready if we need those. Let's see here. And I
Texas Chain Saw Massacre
should mute
took my
that.
baby
How many
away
times have
from
I done that? I do that every time. I just don't mute my computer when I'm watching. Anyway, tonight we are going to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the cult classic from 1974. Any backstory you want to talk first,
Oh,
Deborah?
yes. Oh, yes. First of all, it's not, I don't, it is a cult classic. It was one of the original midnight movies. That's to say, during the early to mid 70s, you had the midnight movie phenomena, which is to say, all the hippies and the stoners would shuffle into movie theaters to watch certain movies, Rocky Horror Picture Show being the most famous. Other ones being David Lynch's Eraserhead was a major midnight movie. El Topo by Alejandro Jodorowsky, George Romero's benchmark classic, Night of the Living Dead, and also the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, made in 1974 by Tobe Hooper and a bunch of other film students and wannabe actors, filmmakers in the Austin area. And this is very much the first hippie horror movie. Hooper was a total stoner. And I think so were most of the people who worked on this. And they wanted to make a horror movie, and they ended up making one of the true benchmark classics in not only American cinema, but in world horror cinema. This is the very first hippie art house horror movie. You see influences from different filmmakers. You could tell that the director, Tobe Hooper, was, very aware of art house directors like Ingmar Bergman. You also this is the very first movie with a lot of horror tropes. Actually, this is the very first horror film with the final girl. For instance, Marilyn Burns is the original final girl.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll drop some other trivia too. There's a ton of it for this movie, and some of it's freaking hilarious.
I mean, the originality of this movie. I mean, nowadays you think back, it's been 30 plus years, 35 years since this movie came out. It's a completely different. It's not 35 years, no, 45 years.
No, more than that. Yeah, we're talking about. This is made in 74, released in 1975 by New Line Cinema.
Yeah, so we're talking over 40 years. So
yes, absolutely. And there have been numerous remakes of this. There have been remakes of the sequels to this. There have been countless imitators, but this original Texas Chainsaw Massacre has a very peculiar power to it that the rest of the films really don't.
Would you say this is the first non-supernatural, non-monster, based? So it's more serial killer versus, you know what I mean?
No,
not the first ever, but the first on this kind of haunting level.
Well, the Italians have been doing giallos for a while. Those are could be considered slasher films. Though usually a black-gloved killer, very often seen from the killer's point of view. But Psycho, of course. Interesting piece of trivia, both this and Psycho are inspired by the same case, which is that of Ed Gein, who was I don't know if I would call him a serial killer. He definitely killed at least 2, maybe 3 people, but he was predominantly known as a ghoul. That's to say, he was very into digging up corpses. And arranging them around his house. He kept the corpse of his dead mother around. I believe he also created a suit out of dead skin, made leather objects out of the flesh of exhumed corpses. And you don't have a lot of that in Psycho, but boy, you get a lot of it in this. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, in Psycho, it's more just taxidermying his dead mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because Ed Gein kept his dead mother around.
Now,
But here,
did the author ever attribute the inspiration to that?
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I
Robert Bloch.
I know with Psycho, they assumed it first. You know what I mean? And then he's all like, "Well, I was aware of that. I don't know if it technically inspired it." You know what I mean?
Oh, Robert Bloch was very clear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the novel and the Hitchcock film are different in many respects. And the screenplay was by, John Fasano, I want to say. I forget exactly. It was a guy who did the Outer Limits. I'm blanking on his name right now, which is shameful. But yes, this is... Bloch did acknowledge that it was the case of Ed Gein that sparked his ghoulish imagination to create Psycho.
Well, that's very cool. I mean, we all get our inspiration from somewhere. I mean, we watch something and then it inspires us to go off on some kind of our tangent. You know what I mean? That's
or
great.
a news story.
Yeah.
Which is what this was. This was a national news story, and it sold papers, and it captured the imagination of horror writers because it was just so creepy and it was just so ghoulish, and the thought that somebody could be living down the road from you with secrets that would shock and appall you, and that. A house of horror may be right next door to you. Although, of course, here the house is in a pretty remote area, and the hippies / victims, cannon fodder, chainsaw fodder, are kind of like characters in a fairy tale who go off into the forest and veer off the path and end up being turned into human barbecue. So there is a little bit of that Hansel and Gretel element.
Human barbecue.
Human barbecue, yes. Oh, yeah. Spoiler, this movie's about cannibals. A cannibal cult. Cannibal tribe, I should say. A cannibal family.
If somebody is watching us and they have not seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre yet, then they're just silly. Because
shame on you. Shame
on you.
Oh, and especially... shame on anybody that's watched the friggin' remake, which is actually not even bad. I thought it was acceptable, but shame on you if you've watched any of the remakes and you haven't watched this. It's 100 times better. It's 100 times scarier. It's 100 times more intense. This is a movie that is out to get you and is very ruthless about it.
Yeah, it goes after some of the less back in, I don't know. I want to say the less touched areas of horror, because the traditional horror BS is more, jump scares and gruesome. You know what I mean?
See, I mean, there you go, interrupting again. Take me to task if I'm stepping on your words a little too much. Up until this point, horror was always about adults. You were talking about gothic horror. The Edgar Allan Poe films by Roger Corman were very popular. The Hammer horror films. So, you had adults like Dr. Frankenstein, working on building a monster in his lab. And you had married couples, or engaged couples that were going off and getting into horrific adventures in these spooky old castles. This is very much in the Southern Gothic tradition. And it's very much about the old world devouring the young world. And so, when we think of, slasher films, which were going to come along later in the 80s, and then you think of the rebirth of the slasher films, the meta-slasher films like Scream, it all started here. This is the first youth horror movie.
Hmm. I got you. The first youth horror movie, like with where the victims are teenagers.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was like in my mind, I'm thinking like what was the like other like ones where the victims are even like smaller children that happened before then. But I guess usually if the victim was a smaller child, it would be set up to where it would scare like the child's parents more than the what I mean?
Oh,
Because
absolutely. You think of something like 13 Ghosts, the original 13 Ghosts. The boy isn't afraid of the ghosts.
right, yeah,
He finds them to be a novelty, actually. And then, of course, I mean, George Romero had already broken a lot of taboos with cannibalism and with killing a child in Night of the Living Dead. Um, this is just and Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just an incredibly original movie. It's very basic. It's not plot heavy, but it is just incredibly well made. Tobe Hooper spent 8 months editing this. 8 months. And the editing is one of the best things in the movie, too. And it is just, every time I see it, I'm just amazed and impressed with it.
yeah. I wouldn't use the word amazed with it. I'm definitely impressed with it. I would say that like obviously it even for the time, I mean the film work was like mid grade. You know what I mean? Very B movie film quality, even for the time, even for
Well, they had a low
1970.
budget. They had a low budget, but they had a really good cinematographer.
Yeah, no,
Some of those shots are
the
very,
people.
very.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the people working on it. I'm saying that
Yeah.
the actual equipment. You know what I mean? And the
Oh, of course.
yeah. And then there's and then the cinematographer was. I think he was good because he was creative. You know what I mean? He wasn't.
Oh, they all were.
Yeah, but I mean because
Hippies.
a lot of those shots I think were like, okay, how the hell are we gonna get this shot? So it's like, okay, this looks crappy. So how am I? He's probably like laying on his back. You know what I mean? Kind of head tilted.
Oh,
Just
when the girl's walking
mhm,
to the house, she's out on the
right.
swing and her boyfriend has disappeared, and she walks towards the house. That low tracking shot. That guy actually built a career on that one shot as a TV commercial director.
Well, see, there you go. I think of this stuff as like like when I work on a project that's low budget, I realize that a lot of that stuff you don't really plan out. You know what I mean?
No,
You get to the moment and you're like, how the hell are we going to do this?
right?
And I see that in this movie almost
Yeah,
from
you do.
end to end. And they probably well overshot. I wonder how much footage of this movie never made it to any kind of visual because they probably have twice as much footage as there is in the movie to capture what they did, and that's why the editor had to take so long because obviously there's a lot of footage to review, a lot of different setups, and like, how does this feel?
Oh
No,
yeah.
pump this and try this. So here, how does this feel? You know what I mean?
Well,
As somebody who's done a lot of editing, I realize that the more footage you have to work with, the longer it's going to take for you to get through it.
oh,
So
absolutely. That's without a doubt. Of course, back then film was also pretty expensive. I don't know if any lost footage of this movie has turned up
I didn't
yet.
say lost. I just said unpublished. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, but you know what I mean by lost.
Right.
That's kind of what I mean. I do know that Tobe Hooper, while he was editing it, wanted the movie to get an R rating. And he kept calling up the MPAA. He would just like literally call them and be like, "Okay,
All you gotta
if
do is say fuck twice, and it's R rated.
well, yeah, absolutely. Well, he didn't want it to be X rated.
But you just say the word fuck twice, and
Yes.
it's R rated.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Yeah. If you want an R rating, it's really easy. It's to get under R rating that's hard.
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah, but I mean,
horror at
it's a
that
Texas
time,
Chainsaw Massacre,
yeah,
so that
horror
title alone.
yeah, the horror at that time was extreme, and there were horror movies that were rated X, but not triple X. You know what I mean?
In England, the
And
movies that we would consider pretty tame had
well, like
X certificates.
Barbarella, which was a
Yes.
60s movie, you know what I mean, was rated
Yeah, wonderful.
when it was released. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so you had to go to special theaters to watch it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And then like what I guess I was about 16, 17 when NC-17 came out. You know what I
Oh
mean?
God.
And that
What
was like the
fiasco
answer.
that turned out to be.
That was the answer to like X rating. You know what I mean?
Or
So
no rating.
no. It was the answer to X rating so that you could get it into a regular movie theater and be what was at that time, hard to get in any theaters because an X rating was which how they would be rated by the, you know what I mean?
By the MPAA, yeah.
Right. And the initial, I believe, the initial X in X rating means that there's no rating. That means you're not rated. You can't.
Right.
You know
X
what I mean?
for unknown.
X for unknown. X for unapproved.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Unapproved.
Yeah. Then of course
triple X isn't like a rating like you get from the Raiders. Triple X is straight. Does not mean unapproved. It means so unapproved. It's just as unapproved as unapproved can get. Right.
But the funny thing is that the X rating was such a kiss of death that when George Romero made Dawn of the Dead, for instance, he didn't even show it to the MPAA. So it was released without a rating. Unfortunately, that means a lot of movie theaters wouldn't show the film. And then, of course, once they did create the NC-17 rating, then there were theaters that were like, well, we're not showing NC-17 movies. So the whole NC-17 rating thing just turned out to be a complete fiasco, really.
Yeah, you hardly even see movies rated that anymore, you know?
So. Well, that's because you look at you look at what's on TV, for instance. You look at, and I think it was the forensics shows that really let the genie out of the bottle, where they would show like rotting corpses and really extreme graphic gore, but it was in a medical context. A show like The Walking Dead, for instance, my God, not only could that not have been shown on TV, it couldn't have been shown in movie theaters back in like the 1970s. At least not with a rating. Definitely not. So times change.
Yeah. Well, they do. I mean, Barbarella, is I think the rating on Barbarella now is PG 13.
Yeah, well, it's a fine movie for kids, I think.
Not really. There's a few moments.
There's no nudity. There's not even any nudity in that.
Yes, there is.
Is there?
Yes. The opening scene, first of all, has Barbarella dancing around nude, and it shows her breasts, Jane Fonda's breasts, in the very first opening. Nipples. And then in the scenes, there's a couple of scenes, but the one that's most dominant and prominent is when she walks through what the fuck is the name of that planet where everything is supposed to be happening. She's walking. Yeah. There's people hanging above, and everybody's kind of screwing around like a big orgy. But the ladies that are hanging above are topless.
Oh wow! It has been a while since I've seen Barbarella. Well, they once again raised by European parents, so they would let me watch anything.
Well, cable TV came out in 1981, and I was a latchkey kid, so I could watch whatever the fuck I wanted. So. So that's how I got exposed to a lot of stuff. That if it was on cable, I pretty much saw it. So.
Yep.
Yeah. It was also one way to stay out of trouble. So.
Oh, most definitely.
Although I still trouble.
So, what's the first clip that we want to show from this?
Did you have some that you had lined up? Because the first thing I wanted to talk about was their setup. I mean, for me, we have
opening shots. Yeah. The opening shots are so creepy. The opening credits are so creepy. The music's incredibly creepy. The cemetery scene, this ghoulish work of art.
I think I'm just gonna let it roll until we get to the red.
All right.
Let's see if it'll play. Film by Tobe Hooper.
Tobe Hooper, rest in peace, brother.
The film which you are about to see is an account of tragedy that befell a group of 5.
That's the voice of John Larroquette, by the way.
Sally Hardesty and her invalid brother Franklin. It is all the more tragic in that they were young. But had they lived very, very long lives, they could not have expected, nor would they have wished to see as they were to see that day. For them, an idyllic summer afternoon drive became a nightmare. The events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
The voice of John Larroquette, who was paid a joint.
So I'm going to pause right there so we can talk about that intro part.
Yes.
Okay, so nowadays you'll almost not get anybody to sit through an intro like that except at a Star Wars movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even like, you know, I mean, it was done a lot it was done a lot in older movies. Like even, you know, Conan had the, you know, the shit you had to read before you watched the movie, you know?
Oh yeah, the Nietzsche quote. Yeah.
And the thing is, well, not just that, it also told like, you know, more about, you know, like Conan, like, you know, to fill you in. So they
The
didn't show
Hyborian age, yeah.
But what I think of is the format, and the reason why they probably don't do it as much now is because the formats have changed so significantly because of the attention span and the television / mobile screen format. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something like that might get you to just start, oh, you know what I mean, or turn away,
Right.
go get your coffee, or like treat it like a commercial. But in a theater, you're captured. In a movie theater, you're captured, and reading something like that is not necessarily as, especially if it's narrated, as difficult to get an audience to do. And your thoughts on that?
Yes, it was intended to give the opening a little bit of a sense of gravitas, and also really sell home the point that this is based on a true story.
Yeah, definitely get that based on a true story feeling.
Yes, that's exactly what that is. Tobe Hooper found John Larroquette, who I think was like a student at maybe State University of Texas or whatever, or somewhere who was somewhere in the Austin scene. And basically Tobe Hooper told him to do an imitation of Orson Welles. So what he was looking for was a sense of gravitas. You know, like, this is some serious shit we're talking about here. This is like the most ghastly, gruesome crime in American history.
Yeah. It totally reminds me of like the beginning of like the CSI crime, or CSI. No, it's Law and Order, or what is that?
Yeah.
The television where it's like, you know,
Law and Order. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's also worth mentioning that this film had the greatest tagline in movie history, which was, "Who will survive and what will be left of them?"
And what will be left of them. Yeah,
best ever, I think.
Sorry about the copy machine noise. My cat just walked across my printer, and
oh, that's okay. Kitties can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Speaking of kitties, I actually had to take 2 to the vet today to get fixed, and they're so like just adorable little cute like bundles all doped up with little cones on their head right now.
Oh, yeah. You feel bad for them when they're like that.
Yeah, well, they're not. They're actually like glad they're not outside right now, so they're just. I think they're just content that they're in the house where it's warm.
God bless you.
So then the next part. So like the setup was there, and then they hit you with this, the date, to make it so a true story. The digging noise, man.
The digging sounds.
Makes it feel like a crime scene investigation, you know?
Oh, it's
with the photos.
And then how he starts doing these close-ups, so it's like bam, bam, you get closer and closer. He's like pushing your face into it.
Right. Totally.
Like, looks awful, doesn't it? Here, let's get a little closer.
Like, how gruesome is it gonna get?
Yep.
Come on.
It's also worth mentioning that this, of course, is on Netflix. It's also on Shudder, so if you want to check it out without us babbling over it, go check it out.
We are going to be doing movies from Netflix for at least the next few times. So like, if you want to watch a movie, or you want to know about a movie, or you would like to see us talk about a movie, make sure you leave it in the comments and let us know, or DM us, or send us a tweet or something, so that we can engage you guys a little bit more who's watching us here. So
absolutely.
Let's see if we can get this thing to play.
Gnarly.
It's just gross.
Grave robbing in Texas.
That's just gross.
Yeah,
and
grave
then
robbing
the
in
shot
Texas
widens. The shot widens and widens, and it becomes macabre.
To a cemetery just outside the small rural Texas community of Butte early this morning. Officers there discovered.
I mean, they really are selling that reality aspect to it.
Absolutely.
Almost treating it like a slight docudrama.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that's so effective about this movie. Sometimes it feels like you're watching a snuff film.
Investigation has revealed at least a dozen.
I sorry everybody for the internet connection thing. It's kind of hard to get Netflix to play good speed while we're streaming video.
Right. That's all good.
I also have a computer here sucking up the internet on this end as well. So
it's also worth mentioning that the copy that I watched on Shudder, I'm assuming the Netflix copy is similar, is an absolutely gorgeous high def. If you saw these movies on VHS, watching them now in Blu-ray and high def, it's a completely different experience. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, high def. I mean, especially since they re-engineer it. It's not like they just took a VHS tape and
no,
tried to,
the original masters, baby, the original masters,
and got the. This is annoying. Anyway, so we were trying to get after the fact that this goes to a very gruesome end point.
An art display. It's an art show. We have a guerrilla artist. He's like Banksy, but with rotting corpses.
Right. Exactly. Thanks, Netflix. You're not doing a good ad for yourself right now, Netflix, just so you know. It's like, oh, it crashed. Netflix. It's like, that was bad product.
There's Marilyn Burns, the grandpa who we'll be meeting later.
Yes. Yeah, this is the thumbnail for the movie that they choose to show when it's loading. Yeah, this is the one they picked. You know what I mean? Random.
It should be, of course, that classic shot of Marilyn Burns hauling ass through the woods with Leatherface breathing down her neck with a chainsaw.
Yes, but that's only if you've seen it. You know what I mean? This one doesn't spoil the movie as much.
I mean, that shot was like in all the TV commercials, but then, of course, that was like way back in the 1970s. It's worth mentioning also that the Texas Chain Saw Massacre got re-released a lot. New Line Cinema was basically, at that point, best known for distributing Reefer Madness. They would show it, midnight screenings at colleges and that sort of a thing. And I think this was the first independent movie that they distributed. And now, of course, they went on to bigger and brighter things like the Lord of the Rings films.
Well, while we're waiting for this to do its thing, let's tell everybody,
yes,
that they can go back 6 Gun Gorilla before midnight.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like a little bit of a dick because like tonight's the night I am hitting that button, but then I think after you hit the button, it's still like alive for like 3 days.
Is it?
Right? I think so.
I don't know.
But either way, I'm hitting that button tonight, so you snooze, you lose.
Yeah. Well,
148 pages.
It'll be an experiment to see when it goes. I mean, it's like if it's a new countdown, it's a new countdown. But whatever, he's hitting the button tonight.
Yes.
So if you don't have Six Gun Gorilla yet, you need to get it because he's in demand now. That means if he hits the button, he won't be going into demand. He will be going off. It means you cannot get it until you see him in person and hope he's got an extra copy on him and you can seduce him for it.
Remember that, ladies. Look, everybody who reads the book loves it. I can honestly say that. So yeah, and also you can download the entire first issue for free, so you get a chance to like check it out, kick the tires first, and see if it's something that you want to read or not.
Yeah, and let's see here. There's now a link in the chat to it. So
excellent. Yeah, so you don't have to do a blind buy.
Right. Yeah, so Six Gun Gorilla is give him the little pitch while we're waiting for the internet to adjust.
A very big ape with very big guns, blowing very big holes in very bad people.
There we go, and it's a good price. Or you can get a digital if you want the digital download. I mean, the first chapter is free, right? Anyway, but the whole thing is $10. And then a graphic novel itself, which is going to be the actual book, which is how many pages all when it's finished?
About 148.
Okay, about 148 pages. So
it's
full size. So it's full size graphic novel, and it's only $25. That's the same price you'd pay for a graphic novel on the shelves. You know what I mean? So it's a good buy, and you guys should definitely get this thing. I back it. I'm going to be getting one of these things, and I suggest everybody does. So.
Thanks, brother.
So you have until it goes away, and he's hitting the button tonight at midnight. So
yeah, and don't forget to check out Captain Love.
Yeah. Yes, buy Captain Love. Buy more of that. I've already fulfilled and everybody who's bought a Captain Love book right now has got it on the way in the mail to them. Yeah,
awesome.
So if you buy one today, I'll get it in the mail tomorrow or the next day, depending on how probably tomorrow. But I mean, if you buy it like on a Saturday, it obviously be Monday. So
sweet. Looking forward to my copy.
Yeah, your copy's on the way, man. I mailed it myself.
Bitchin'.
Yeah, I think that one you should get that pretty soon. I let that out on I think Wednesday.
Wonderful. Really looking forward to it.
So
it looks like a lot of fun.
You might see it tomorrow or the next day. You're on the East Coast, so it's probably going to be. It's probably going to be like Thursday.
Yeah, and Christmas season and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it'll be this week. You'll get it probably before Friday. So, there's already guys getting it. I mean, I don't know. I've been retweeting like crazy. Everybody's getting their copies of the book. It's like it's a weird feeling. I mean, like right now I'm like freaked out because I need to sell more books. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's just so exciting to actually see the books showing up all over the country and soon all over the world. Because a quarter of my sales were out of the country. You know what I mean? The shipping for that, I mean, it's like I didn't make any profit on that shipping at all. You know what I mean? There's no handling in that shipping and handling.
Yeah. But still, the fact that you're mailing a book to people in other parts of the world is in and of itself, I think, really exciting.
It's something I've never done before, and so now I can say I've done it. Now, actually, I'm an internationally published author.
Hell yeah!
That sounds very pretentious, but I can say it, and it's true.
Exactly. If you got to flaunt it, baby.
Yeah, that's what they say. So let's see what Netflix is doing for us now. Okay, it says resume. Should we see if it'll resume?
Hell yeah!
It's not giving me a finger to. There it goes. Okay, so it's not thinking fast. So let's close some windows here.
That's because Leatherface bashed their brains in.
Right. I have closed quite a bit of other things now. Let me close anything else here that's superfluous.
And poor Leatherface, man. Poor Leatherface. Like Tobe
Well, he was
Hooper
just a little
said.
you could tell the character, like the way they played Leatherface, you could
Yeah.
tell. And then, I mean, because there wasn't a whole lot of explanation. There was a little bit, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you listen carefully, there's just a few dialogue lines that indicate towards it. But Leatherface is obviously a mentally challenged human being, you know? It's
Yes.
very possibly extremely deformed, you know?
And inbred. Yeah, without a doubt. And having a really bad day.
Having a really bad day.
A really bad day. I mean, these kids are just like coming out of nowhere, walking into his house. Where are they coming from?
Just walking into the house. They deserve that shit. Them fucking breaking.
But here's the thing: is there was a time, evidently, in Texas where you could do that. You could walk into somebody's house and go, "Hello," you know.
Hey, you get shot for that now in Texas.
You get shot for that now, yeah. But this is like 1974, so.
All right, so let's see if we can get to that last macabre scene. If it'll let us get there. I just wanted to get that. I wanted to give that visual to everybody because that is like one of my favorite visuals from this whole movie.
Which one?
Where he's sitting on the what? Never mind. That.
Okay. Okay.
That I wanted everybody to see that because that is haunting.
Metal. That is metal, is what that is.
That is haunting. All right, so now you have a favorite scene you want to go to here?
Oh God, there's so many of them. The scene in the van, of course. I think is just really brilliant at creating a feeling of unease.
Well, let's talk about that. Why don't you give them the setup, and then I will click the 10-minute, 11-minute point, and then we will watch after they pick up the hitchhiker. So he's in the van with them. So give them the setup.
Yeah. So you got a bunch of hippies, two guys with their girlfriends, and one guy who is sort of literally the third wheel, named Franklin, who plays Marilyn Burns' brother in this. And they decide, rather unwisely, to pick up a hitchhiker. And the hitchhiker, played by Ed Neal, turns out to be... when you think of like the worst person ever that you could possibly pick up, the worst hitchhiker ever, it's him, for sure. And they discover that pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely on that one. Let's see how this rolls.
Oh, no. How did you get stuck way out here? I was at the slaughterhouse. I got an uncle that works at the slaughterhouse. Hey, my brother worked there. My grandfather, too. My family's always been in me. Old family attraction.
Okay, foreshadowing. If anybody ever studies script writing, it's like you don't realize it when you're watching the movie, but when you go back and watch the movie again, it's easier to find those moments where they're like, pink, pink, this is telling you what's going to happen. You know,
absolutely.
It's over and over. And yeah, Family of Draculas. Yeah, Family of Cannibals.
Man, you go in that slaughter room or whatever they call it, the place where they shoot the cattle in the head with that big air gun thing. Oh, that gun's no good. I was in there once with my uncle. No way. With a sledge. See, that was better. They died better that way. How come? I thought the gun was better. Oh, no. With the new way people put out jobs. You do that? Look. I was the killer.
Okay. how weird would it be to pick up a hitchhiker who carries around photographs of cows that he claims to have killed?
Trophies. You're already starting to realize, like, oh crap, this was the guy. This is the artist from the graveyard. That they've just picked him up. Yeah, those are trophies. Is what they are. And of course, one thing that serial killers have in common is they always start out with animals and work their way up to humans.
They make head cheese. They take the head and they boil it half at a time. And they scrape all the flesh away from the bone. They use everything. They don't throw nothing away. They use the jowls, muscles, and the eyes, and the ligaments, and everything. From the nose, the gums, and all the flesh, and they boil it down into a big jelly of fat. Wow, I didn't know that's what was in that stuff. It's really good. You like it? Yeah, I like it. It's good.
All right. I'm going to pause it there, even though it stopped on its own. The moment you can tell that things are starting to feel weird, they're like, okay, you can tell he's kind of like intrigued still, because he's himself is just a little bit, off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're bonding over their mutual love of head cheese.
Yeah, but he doesn't realize how bad it is. Everyone else doesn't realize how bad it is, but they sure have a good feeling that something isn't right. They're just sitting there, just kind of almost in awe by the weirdness of the situation, and you can just cut the tension with a knife, so to speak. Not trying to give too much foreshadowing to what's about to happen here.
So uncomfortable.
Can touch. You can. Yeah, it is totally. Hey, by the way, Skits Comics says, "Hey y'all, welcome Skits. So glad to see you."
Anybody else hanging out in the chat? Yo.
Yeah, glad you are here. Yes, you definitely need to refresh. This is one of those movies you should watch at least once every 2 years, just to refresh. Refresh your course your insanity, because oh my gosh, if you're a comic creator and you like horror comics and you haven't seen this, you're missing out on some ideas that you're going to get after you watch this. But we know you've seen it, Skits. We've seen your stuff.
Check out the Blu-ray, Skits. Check out the Blu-ray. It's amazing.
So the tension, you can cut it with a knife at this point.
And the acting, you have to really give it up to the actors. Every element here is designed to set you off balance.
Wait, I wanna draw attention to one other thing here, before he grabs the knife. Come on, pause and play. This should scrub better. Sorry, everybody.
Ed Neal and James Franco, by the way, separated at birth.
What?
I said Ed Neal and James Franco separated at birth. The resemblance is pretty
you notice the pouch he's wearing? What do you think it's made of?
No, that's Ed Neal right there as the hitchhiker, and that's the only name he's ever given in the film. I was just mentioning that he bears a sort of a striking resemblance in close-ups to James Franco. It's also worth mentioning that Ed Neal had a schizophrenic brother, and used a lot of the mannerisms that he was familiar with in his characterization here. The mark on his face, you're not sure if it's supposed to be makeup or a birthmark. I'm inclined always to believe that it's a birthmark.
Yeah, I would think birthmark. Does he have it later in the movie too?
Yes.
I forget to focus on that because it just kind of blends in. So this thing that looks like almost like a turkey pouch. Okay, that's apparently some kind of leather, but it doesn't look like, like pig skin or like cow skin. I mean, do you think that's like supposed to draw our attention, or do you think that
No,
it's
because you can see some fur there. You can see some fur there, and so it
so
has sort of almost like an Indian tribal look to it.
okay?
Definitely tribal, that's for sure.
I wish you'd stop talking about it.
Frankly, you're making everybody sick.
Come on, making everybody sick.
Paul
Gotta do something.
Partain, by the way, who plays Franklin, so stole the show when they were making this that the rest of the cast became very resentful towards him.
Because he stole the show?
Yeah. Because I mean, his performance is easily the best in the film, and one of the things that's really interesting about the character that he's playing, Franklin, is that he is completely unsympathetic, despite the fact that he's handicapped, that he's in a wheelchair. He's consistently unpleasant. He's whiny. He's petulant. He's childish. And Paul Partain, evidently, we're talking about hippies, the 70s. He was like a method actor. So the rest of the cast thought that he actually pretty much was that character. So
Well, he definitely was believable as far as selling Franklin. You know what I mean?
Oh my God,
like,
it's the best. It's the best performance in the movie. Steals it, I think.
What are you doing?
Oh, it's stall. Just look at his face.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know what I mean? If you had just come in here, I mean, obviously. What are you doing? Oh, now that would freak anybody out in that time period. Nowadays, cutting is not so shocking. You know what I mean? They would just think he's like, okay, he's just, off and got, daddy issues or something. But
I disagree. I think that would still freak people out pretty damn badly.
I mean, especially if approached this way. But I'm just saying that it would freak people out more then because cutting wasn't as socially known. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just that is just to be. The thing is now they're on the road with somebody they picked up. You know what I mean? And he is now in their vehicle. And they're probably all thinking, except Franklin, they're probably all thinking, how do we get him the fuck out of our vehicle?
Yeah. And now he has a knife.
And now he's holding a knife. Right. And we want him out of the vehicle. That's all we want. We want him out.
And he's carving himself up, which means, okay, he's doing that to himself. What's he going to potentially do to you?
Yeah. The unknown factor on that is, part of what makes horror good.
Absolutely.
Come on, let's see here. It's the good part, This is setup.
From now on, we got to have like DVD copies ready to go.
Well, no, I just can't believe it's doing this. You know what I mean? When we did Carrie, it actually Netflix was a lot more cooperative. I think it's just internet. People are home. Christmas time.
Yeah.
And, people
technical difficulties. It's not our fault.
I mean. Well, probably came out on Netflix, and people are watching probably the hell out of Netflix right now. You know what I mean? Also, so it could be on both ends, both my internet and possibly Netflix servers.
You could try skipping ahead to like one of the money shots.
Well, we're going to when it lets us.
Yeah, the scene where they're first exploring, when they're exploring the first house, not the second house, with what looks like this large ivy-covered house that's, off the beaten path. There's a shot of Ken, I think is the name of the character. He's walking through the house, and there's this shot where he looks up to a corner, and it's crawling with spiders. And that shot, to me, has always been one of the great ones in the movie.
They gave us 3 seconds of action.
They're all freaking out.
He looks like he's enjoying it too.
He is. Yeah, he's getting off on it.
He's getting off on their reaction more than anything, probably.
That too. Yeah. Then he gives the knife back to Franklin. Here you go.
And look at his expression. He looks like almost confused.
Yeah, that they don't completely understand.
Like the blood is still in the knife. He's just staring at it. He's all, what they don't. I was doing my thing. I did my trick.
Yeah, he's looking a little guilty.
Well,
as we discover later, he can misbehave sometimes.
The expressions that we're stopping with here. Look at the girls' faces. They're just like
fantastic.
That's literally horror on their face.
Yes. And this is literally a horrifying movie.
Yes. Because, even after seeing it all these times, it's still a little horrified. I think I'm more horrified because it's like I feel what they're feeling more than I'm like shocked myself by it. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah. The actors are, like I said, the actors in this are terrific. They really, really sell it.
And it stalls again.
Oh,
let's
snap.
See. Okay, so let's see here.
You know, this movie was a resume killer. That the people that were in this, the actors that were in this, none of them went on to have careers past this. A lot of them distanced themselves from this movie as much as they could, and there are others that went to Hollywood to try to pursue acting careers that didn't work out because, if this was on your resume, it was like being in porn, basically. And which is just is so unfair and just blows your mind.
That's how horror was back then. A lot of people still consider horror pornography. I tripped out. There was, what was the name of that movie with John Cryer where he was like the horror fanatic. And
yes. Oh God, I forget the name of that. Yeah, I remember that. He meets George Romero at the mall. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, this is when horror was still dangerous. This is when horror was still edgy. This is when horror was still illicit.
Right. But, the illicit wasn't like naughty and dirty as much as it was just like
transgressive.
Right. Freaky.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go.
Oh, that sound of the generator.
Come on, work for us.
I can't wait till we get to Jim Siedow in the later scenes of the movie. The legendary drive-in movie critic Joe Bob Briggs, my man, considers this movie to be a dark comedy. I don't, but it does have some humor in it.
That's a tooth.
Yes.
If I saw a tooth, I would leave. I would not hang around. I would be gone.
Oh.
I don't care if it was like an animal tooth. I would be gone.
Oh.
but that tooth is got like metal filled. That's a human tooth.
Yes.
And he knocks on the door again. That's dumb. Door flies open.
Like lemmings, man. Like lemmings. They just walk right into it.
What? No.
Like, no, they had teeth on the porch.
But they got a nice swing.
I would not. And I'm not a chicken shit, but I would not.
Oh, God. But it's the South. He's expecting maybe like mint juleps or something.
Yeah, I mean, you see all that taxidermy up ahead. You're like, you know, even if it's not really taxidermy.
Hello.
And then you hear what pig noise.
Yep.
Honk. Twitching.
Yep.
Oh!
Nerve system, yeah. Bam.
And now the movie has just changed its dynamic and went to 11. It just went kapow.
Yeah.
I can just imagine. I mean, it went from like, this just sucks and this is anxiety. These people are weird, freaky,
Yes.
just creepy people to, oh my God, these people are next level creepy.
And no music. You notice that.
Right.
There's no music until he shuts that door. Nobody
And-
ever. It's totally
and the
original.
door- an iron door.
Yes.
Door.
Yes.
I mean, that tells you immediately this is not the first time
No.
that they have captured people into this. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
And, yeah, and this sucker just walked right into it.
Just right into the trap, like a baited trap for a mouse.
But it's not a trap. That's the thing. It's not a trap. That's why Leatherface gets so anxious. Because he's just like, where the hell did this guy come from? Okay. Then there's a second. Then there's a third. He's like, what is this? A freaking invasion? Yeah. It
is a home
it's
invasion.
a bad day for Leatherface, man.
I guess it's true. They did deserve what they got.
No, I'm not saying. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, but you might not want to go. That's another thing that's interesting about this movie. A lot of people are afraid of the South or parts of the South, and that includes people from the South. Tobe Hooper is a Texan. The guy who wrote this, Kim Henkel, is a Texan. And this and Texas Chain Saw Massacre Part 2 are very much about Texas in a lot of respects. And there's that one shot where you see a watch that's been run through with like what looks like a nail or like a big spike, and that imagery is very self-conscious. It's very much this is a place not so much where time stands still as it is like I said, the old world devouring the new world, the older, more savage world, maybe of the frontier, for instance.
Yeah, no, I see it as I think we've even talked about this before offline. We talked about how like this is one of those movies that was just designed to reach into that darker side of humanity.
Yes.
It's like, okay, like we all know that it's likely there are people that if they're not actually like this, they're real fucking close.
Yes.
They just aren't caught.
Yes,
what I mean?
and they're rare, and they're fabulously rare, but they do exist.
I have been in the Midwest. I used to live out there. I have ran into some people that I questioned. Like,
yeah. Well, that's what's interesting too is Deliverance had already come out, so you could consider that a backwoods horror movie of sorts. But this is what really cemented the genre. And there have been countless
Yeah,
others after.
There was Children of the Corn, Hills Have Eyes. Yeah.
Hills Have Eyes, which uses a lot of the props from this, by the way, which is interesting. And all the way up to not just the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes, the Wrong Turn movies. Those are totally inspired by this.
Right.
Just Before Dawn, Rituals. And then, of course, you have, rednecks in every part of the world. And, well, it's wrong to call, the Sawyers here rednecks. They're a cannibal tribe, let's face it.
That's a good question.
But you got to understand this, Skits. The people from Texas will tell you, at this time, when this movie was made, something like that wasn't unusual. Somebody's car broke down, and they're just like, yo, can I use your phone? You got any gas? Can you, give me a jump? Something like that. Sure, partner, I'll set you up. Nowadays, of course, you'd get a belly full of buckshot. But back then, actually, and I'm not speaking from personal experience. I'm speaking from the experience of people that I know from Texas who have said this stuff, told me this stuff.
I've seen some pretty crazy stuff, like firsthand, but not like this. But I have seen people that have trophies in their garage of animals that they've done weird, horrible mutilations to. I've seen that. You know what I mean? And that's just because it's like, I don't know if it's like a Midwest thing, like, you know what I mean? Like it's just a cultural thing out there, but there's people out there that have a really old, you could say it's a mountain culture, kind of hillbilly descent. You know what I mean? And people, especially in the Appalachians area.
God. Yeah. Economically deprived and
economically deprived, socially disconnected.
Yes.
Like they've never even seen a Walmart or a fucking 7-Eleven. Never.
Right.
Their whole life, they've never seen one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they're related indirectly to everybody they know. Like everybody's a cousin or a second cousin or a third cousin. That is scary, man. That's a scary part of the world. And I have no desire to ever return to that area, because when I was there, we played a fucking bar in a town like that. And it wasn't the worst of them. It was like a mild town, but we had to pass through a town that was like that and stopped in a town that was like that to get gas. All right. There was literally an old man and a kid sitting on the porch, and the kid had a banjo, right? And he was like plucking like it sounded like blump 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 blump. That was haunting then. It still haunts me now. And that was real life. It was not a movie.
Oh my God.
I can still hear the music in my head.
Oh,
as if it was yesterday.
Oh. It's worth mentioning. I don't know if it's on Netflix too. I believe it is. There's a really great satire of this and other backwoods horror movies called Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Check that out. I highly recommend it. It's funny as hell.
I actually think I've seen that.
It's really good. It basically turns the tables and turns the rednecks into the victims and the college kids into the victimizers. It's hilarious. Definitely check it out.
See what
a role reversal thing.
Yes, I love role reversal. Okay, so homeboy just got the door slammed on him,
and his skull crushed by Leatherface.
I just gotta say, I'm so glad girls don't wear those panties like that anymore, because they just very unflattering to the butt. You know what I mean? You can't wear pants over them that work.
I don't know. I'm a booty man though.
The butt would look a lot better if the panties were a modern set.
Daisy Dukes, man. boy, does she sell this scene.
And, oh, yeah, I'm just going to wander right on in. He didn't come out. He's not answering me when I call. But I'm just going to walk right in.
Well, it would never occur to them that they're walking into a house of horrors. They're walking into basically,
I used to be afraid to I used to be afraid to go to some of my neighbors' houses trick or treating because of stuff like this.
Oh, here we go.
Birdcage is used differently than normal.
Oh, so disturbing. That shot, man, the chicken in the birdcage.
Teeth on the floor. Lots of teeth on the floor. Human bones. And non-human bones.
Yes. Oh,
used as decoration.
Look at that. Yeah, they had an artist that created all this stuff, and it's beyond creepy.
So they say. maybe it was done with a shovel and a pickaxe. You know what I'm saying?
No, you could see that there was a great deal of imagination that went into this design.
Human bones and animal bones just piled in together.
Looks like H.R. Giger's workshop, actually.
Why is she still in there? Wouldn't she be gone by now?
Fight, fright, or freeze. She's freezing. Now she's puking or trying to puke. Yep, Leatherface has got you, honey.
Mm-hmm.
There's the meat hook. Stick around. Now watch her acting here. She sells this just brilliantly.
The freeze frame sells it even. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And once again, the beauty of the editing in this. Tobe Hooper, for this scene in particular, called up the MPAA and said, "Okay, hanging somebody on a meat hook, would it be less awful if I don't show the meat hook going into the person's back?" And they were like, "Yeah, definitely." So,
right.
He would confer with them. Oh yeah, and then of course she's hanging out, and Leatherface goes to work on her boyfriend.
Yeah, I think of like you really can't get. I mean, it's hard to get more horrific than something like this. I mean, even if you had two guys like Leatherfaces, I think the one Leatherface is more horrific than two.
Way more horrific. You know, less is more. Less is more. And this is a great example of it too. Also, just in terms of the gore, because there is none.
Right. It's there, but you don't see it.
You don't see it. And I can't tell you how many people I know have seen this movie and think they've seen things that they haven't. It's a testament to how cleverly edited it is.
Right. It is. It sells. I think it's. I don't think they needed the gore. You know what
No.
I mean? They didn't need blood everywhere. They didn't need some over the top, that kind of
Not
stuff.
at all.
Because that would have just been a distraction from
Yes.
the tension that they build up, and then the overall like constant state of holy fuck that
Yes.
happens. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
it's like, yeah, I mean, it's more scary than like, oh, Jason's in there, don't go in there. It's more
Oh, yeah.
scary. I don't go to sleep because fucking Freddy's gonna get you. It's
nothing scary about those movies, in my opinion. Nothing
It
scary
is-
about those.
it's as scary as I went to a house to ask for help and they killed me in a horrifically gruesome, painfully disgusting, grotesque, ghoulish way.
Hung you from a meat hook and then made you watch as your companions just chopped into deli meat.
Hung by a meat hook by a big motherfucker
Oh, yes. Gunnar Hansen.
wearing a human face on his face.
Yes. Gunnar Hansen, really quick, was a poet and was the editor-in-chief of a Austin poetry journal. And I met him a couple times at horror conventions, and really, really sweet, very nice, gentle guy. Not about, 7 feet tall. I mean, physically just, intimidating as hell. He wasn't a giant, which is to say he didn't suffer from giantism. He was just a Viking.
Right.
Gunnar Hansen, hello. He was just a huge, huge, huge guy. Very gentle person, but obviously, if he wanted to, could do a ton of damage.
Right.
And he made didn't really, this didn't give him a movie career, but he made a lot of money just doing the convention circuit.
Yeah, my mother just asked me how the kittens were doing.
Oh,
So I just texted her a picture
oh,
of baby kittens
oh!
in cones.
You took them in off the street?
Actually, they were born in my backyard,
Oh,
but they just got fixed today, and they're in a kennel, big kennel cage in my other room, just healing,
convalescing.
Sleeping.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
No, seriously, well, jealous of you for having kitties, man.
Yeah, I have a few. Let's see. Can you see the one right there?
Yep, sure do. Looks gorgeous.
There's one on the cat tree in the back. You see that one?
Not quite.
Well, hold on.
Let's see a little something. Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah. There's another one,
Yeah,
there's another one right here
I'm
on
a
the
cat
chair. You know what I mean?
I love dogs too. I just love critters, but very much.
I'm a big softie myself, man. It goes with it goes with I guess just like experiencing life. You know what I mean? If you really like as a writer or whatever, you really you get into the depths of emotion and feeling to understand them, and if you let yourself get there, your heart gets soft, and then things like cuddly, loving things.
Oh yeah, I'm shameless, man. I'm shameless. I have no dignity when it comes to critters. No dignity whatsoever. I'll start baby talking people's animals at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that myself, especially if they're puppies or kittens.
Oh,
Especially
goodness.
puppies. Oh my gosh, a puppy! I can't help it myself. I don't know why. It's just I will totally baby talk a puppy, and before I even realize that people looking at me like, dude, aren't you a biker? It's like, what's wrong with
Well, it's it's the same thing with horror fans. It's like people think that horror fans are like these horrible sadistic people. In my experience, horror people are the nicest people you will ever meet in your life. Having experienced the different fandoms, Star Trek fandom, comic book fandom, horror fandom, all these different fandoms, horror fans, just and artists are just very, very sweet-natured people, in my experience.
Well, I think that's for the most part right. You know, I mean, there are people that, like, when they get a taste of success, they turn into assholes.
Yes.
And then there are people that have never, they've just pursued it their whole lives and had failure after failure after failure, and they're bitter, so they become assholes. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I think there's a full spectrum there, but I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
All of the horror directors that I've met, I'm lucky. I have like a we have an Alamo Draft House that is in Yonkers, which is just about, I don't know, 40, 50 minutes outside of the city. And we get like horror directors on the regular, you know, signing Blu-rays and DVDs and, doing question and answer sessions for screenings of their films. And I haven't met a single one that was a jerk.
But they're usually what? They're usually like moderately successful, right?
Yes.
You know, or they're trying to be successful.
Not necessarily. Some of them are kind of what you would consider washed up, but they're very grateful of their fans.
But they're there to move merchandise too.
They're there to move merchandise.
Yeah.
But they're also just kind of like touched by the fact that people like, it's like, you know, like, wait, like, are these people here for me? You know, it's like, because it's like a comic book convention, you know, it's like Neil Adams on the street, nobody bats an eyelash. They walk into the convention, they're a rock star. And it's that kind of a thing. Like they're sort of moved by the fact that people still care about them, and so people still care about their movies.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, you know, people appreciate success. You know what I mean? And then, you know, like athletes, that's why they're always praised when they're really great athletes. You know, because people appreciate success in general. And so, like, even if it's a moderate success, you know what I mean? It's like if somebody who's done nothing with their life, they usually, you know, really like look up to that. And then the flip side of that is people who are, you know, who aren't stars. You know what I mean? They aren't super big names. They aren't super successful. Getting any kind of, you know, kudos and
recognition.
You know, recognition. They're going to be very happy and gracious, and usually, you know, because if it, you know, they're not used to getting it. You know what I mean? So
sure,
I know exactly what you're saying. You know what I mean? I just look at it through a full spectrum lens. You know what I mean? It's sure. Because I mean, I've lived in Hollywood. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of just asses. You know what I mean?
No, I don't doubt.
Hell, yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, a little gratitude goes a very long way. Quick story about Don Coscarelli, who directed the legendary Phantasm, which would also be a great movie to do on our show.
Yeah.
I went to a special screening of that, and you know, he also did other movies like The Beastmaster, Bubba Hotep. He's a guy who's been at an indie career all the way. Never worked for the majors, although he was, you know, got numerous offers. And he was there also to sign copies of his book, of his autobiography. And God bless him, he stayed. He signed every book way past midnight. And I remember, you know, if you've seen a movie a million times, you know where okay, this is a good time for me to pee, right? So I get up and I go out into the lobby, and I see him sort of pacing around, and I'm just like, you know, hey man, what's up? And he looks at me and he says, how's it going in there? I'm just like, dude, everybody loves this movie. Most of the people here have seen this movie 100 times. It's going great. Relax. But he was still, you know, a little nervous. I thought that was sweet.
No, that's kind of cool. I mean, I can understand that though. I mean,
me too.
Yeah, I think I would probably be along those lines. You know, people say, you know, you shouldn't be, but I am hypersensitive about my art, hypersensitive. I should, you know what I mean? It's like I don't take criticism well. I usually don't respond poorly to it,
Mhm.
but I don't take it well. But at the same time, I don't take compliments well either.
Oh God, I'm the worst with compliments. I'm the worst. I don't take compliments very well either. Criticism, I can as long as I feel it's valid. You know what I mean? It's like you could say that my work sucks, but you got to tell me why it sucks.
I can, you know, I fully understand what you're saying. I mean, it's like I really would just like, you know, have people just tell me surface, like, yeah, I liked it. You know what I mean? Or yeah, it was okay. You know what I mean? It's like,
Sure.
I don't like, you know, oh no, it's like, oh, your book sucked. You know what I mean? It's like, okay. You know what I mean? I'd rather hear that than your book sucked because this, and I hated this, and I hated that, and hated this. I'm like, I don't know.
I prefer specifics.
I have not heard. I have not. Just so everybody knows, I have not heard that from anybody. The only negative stuff I heard about my book is from, like, you know, like my ex-fiance who thought there was too much sex in it.
Oh God! Well, maybe it's a good thing that it didn't work out.
Well, she's you know, she's kind of conservative a little bit, and she's got daughters. You know what I mean? So that's one of those things. You know, I
always thought sex was a good thing, but
I enjoy sex, and I think sex is definitely is important, and and I believe that the scenes were important to the character development, to understanding the big picture of the character. I mean, this book is designed to help you understand the people involved, hopefully, and hopefully it'll communicate that. So.
Right, and I should also say that writing, also filming a good sex scene, that's probably the most difficult thing to do in the world. So I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, it's very rare that I've seen a good sex scene in a movie. Something that felt authentic.
The challenge on a good sex scene is to have it be believable without turning it into eroticism.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a line there. Some people go way too far in one way, or they go way too far in the other. You know what I mean? Right. Getting right up to that line without crossing it is usually where you're successful.
Right. You want it to be something that helps reveal the characters, maybe even moves the story forward. You don't want it to be softcore.
Yeah, you may want it to feel as if it's gonna be soft porn. You know what I mean? But that would be more used for setting up something else that's going to happen. Like in horror, they use the sex scene to set up something that's going to happen, because you know when those people are screwing, you're like, they're going to die.
Of course,
ahead of time.
Yeah, the F and die movies, as one critic called them, the 80s slashers.
Right.
But also, you know, the way I look at them nowadays, it's like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees. What are they doing? They're they're these young kids who are doing things that make babies, and they are sort of like this anti-life force. And
I think what it is also, I think that because of the time of the era where that was popular, because you don't see that as much. You still see it, like, what was it in what the hell was that? Was that Dune? No. There's all kinds of movies. I'm trying to think of the most recent one. There's one in my head where these people were having sex in a shower. It was very recent, and they got killed in the shower. It might have been Prometheus, but I think maybe not Prometheus. What was it? Oh, it was it was not Prometheus. It was the Aliens one, the one that followed up Prometheus when they were on the Covenant. Yeah, it was that one. And there's that they went very traditional, where the couple is screwing in the shower and they got killed. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, and also that you're most vulnerable. You know, I mean, you think about when you're most vulnerable. Definitely shower, in bed making love, sitting on the toilet.
Right, exactly. Sitting on the toilet. That one's horrible. I mean,
that was used in Psycho 3 very well, I thought.
It was also used in The Blob, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh, the remake.
The remake, yes.
Superb.
With Kevin Dillon.
Yes, terrific.
Yes. Yeah, that movie was my first experience with the Blob, and the Blob was one of the things that really scared me because there's virtually no escape, and you know what I mean?
It's quick.
Yeah, yeah, and it devours everything, and there's just no getting away from it. So it's just that was uh that was a fun movie. Anyway,
Yeah,
but that actually might be one that we should review sometime, like do a Blob.
Oh, I'd love to. I think it deserves more attention
because that's like one of the ones where the remake is probably almost as good, if not better than.
Oh, it's better.
Yeah,
I would say it's better.
Yeah.
I mean, the original Blob was literally a piece of gelatin that was pushed around with a pencil.
Right, well, the remake was better, but I mean the concept, the story, the sell. I mean they're very different. But yeah, I would say the remake is definitely better.
Yeah, like Carpenter's remake of The Thing, or Philip Kaufman's remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or Cronenberg's remake of The Fly. Occasionally, you do get them. Not so much these days.
Very less these days, yeah, and they're still outliers. I mean, for the most part, most remakes suck, even back then. So,
yeah.
So then let's go back to a little bit of the extra horrific. Now, would this be the first instance of chainsaw horror?
Absolutely. Sorry, I gotta make my metal faces.
One of the most dangerous tools known to man.
Yeah, you know what the trick.
It is dangerous to even just to use one. It's dangerous. You know what I mean? Yes. I get freaked out when I'm using one, and I gotta be really cautious. I don't drop it and accidentally cut my leg open or something. You know?
Right. The trick for chainsaw jugglers, and also for scenes like where he's running through the woods, is they just take the chain off.
Right. Exactly. That's where but that the idea is it's extra scary because you can jack yourself up with a chainsaw. You know what I mean? If you're not careful enough, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's really got to be like the most dangerous tool that, you know what I mean?
It's one. If it's not, it's definitely one of them. That's for damn sure.
Right. I mean, they got to come up with something a little safer to use for cutting trees down. Because, I mean, I hire pruners to come to my house, and they climb up a tree, and they're up in my trees with the chainsaw.
Oh God, I can't watch stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with heights, you know what I mean? But I have a problem with instability. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if I'm in a tree holding on by you know what I mean, and I'm just trying to do something dangerous, that will give me the spins and vertigo a little bit. If I'm just in the tree, you know what I mean, that won't give me vertigo. But if I'm trying to do something that's dangerous, for some reason, I will get vertigo. You know what I mean? And it's weird.
Oh yeah.
I used to prune my own tree, and I actually had this rope. I would tie myself to the tree so that I could feel like I wouldn't fall. I mean, I would literally hook myself in, and I'd make sure I was secure as fuck to the tree so that I could focus on the saw. So you know what I mean?
Right.
So
hey, that makes sense, man.
Here, it's
makes sense to me.
Oh,
better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. Yeah.
Always.
Logic these kids did not use.
No. There goes your boyfriend's head, honey.
I mean, he had a saw in there a little bit, you know.
And also the act being blocked by the meat grinder.
Right.
He's gonna get you, Franklin. He's coming to get you. You don't think it means anything?
We'll protect you if he tries to get you.
Franklin, bitching and bitching and bitching.
He's gonna kill you, Franklin.
That's just cruel right there. They're trying to fuck with Franklin, you know what I mean? Because they don't like him. You know?
Yeah, and he makes himself very unlikable. You know, he's just not a likable person.
No. I mean, he comes across very spoiled and, you know, very self-entitled, and you can tell and you're supposed to feel that he's that way because he's in a wheelchair.
Well, it's great because it goes against your expectations. You think to yourself, oh, this person's in a wheelchair. You're supposed to feel sorry for them. They normally would be.
So he makes it impossible to feel sorry for him because he's such an asshole, right?
Yeah, he's just a human being, and he's not dealing with his condition or his situation in a heroic manner. He's not dealing with it well. Now, of course, how you or I would deal with that situation. If we were in wheelchairs, there but for the grace of God go I. You like to think that you'd be that you deal with it better than Franklin, but you wouldn't know until you were actually there.
Yeah, I would probably not deal with it well. I would probably just try to ignore it. You know what I mean? And it'd be like one of those things. Like some people, they aren't sensitive about it, but some people are super sensitive about it. Like, don't fucking mention that I'm in a chair ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
probably be like one of those guys. Like, just
yeah. I find the way that when you're dealing with people with whatever condition it is that they have, that the way that they respond to it best is because I try to relate, and usually my reaction is, oh my God, that must be a pain in the ass. Like, life isn't hard enough. You got to deal with that shit on top of it. Fuck. And
I find that life brings balance. So like the people that have that level of challenge in life, have bliss in other ways that people do not. You know what I mean? Yeah. I find that not everybody has the same level of balance in their life because your balance level shifts throughout your life. But I believe that everybody has an equilibrium level of balance, in their lives. So it's like the more you put out, you know what I mean? The more, like, if you reach out further, right? Yeah. You're gonna balance that out. If you stay in tight, you know what I mean, the balance is gonna be smaller. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think it's just physics.
It is. That's what I always compare. That's what I always compare it to. You want to help yourself, help others. It's like law of gravity, law of physics. Absolutely. And isolating that never helps. He's isolating himself from the group here.
It's not scientifically measurable at this point, right?
No.
All right,
but it's real.
We're gonna jump ahead here, but let's. Of course,
they don't come back.
They don't come back. So of course the last standing man has to go look for them, and we shall find him at the house.
And one of the greatest jump scares in film history. And a legit jump scare.
Yeah, well, now no one's going to jump.
Nobody's going to jump anyway with this choppy video. Watch the movie, folks. Watch the freaking movie.
Is anybody here?
I always wonder at this thing if her sandals that flew off of her feet when he grabbed her, when Leatherface grabbed her sandals went flying. I always wondered if they were on the porch there somewhere because you don't see them. They're not, you know what I mean? But her sandals went flying out.
That's true. And then I think Leatherface seems pretty fastidious about cleaning up after himself, though.
Are you guys in there?
I got a refill. Be right back in a sec.
Hey guys, quit playing games. Quit goofing on me. Pam, is that you? Okay, you guys. Come on out. Come on. Kurt?
Poor Leatherface stressing out.
Yeah, so at this point you realize that Leatherface is like, are there more of them coming?
But where are they coming from? And are there going to be more? Well, these kids are walking into the freaking house. What the?
Yeah, and disturbing his let you know, what if they let his victims free or something? What was that part with the freezer and the girl in the freezer? That was one of the things that actually bothers me about this movie. Like, if I was gonna like find something negative to talk about, it'd be that part. Okay, she's making the noises. You know what I mean? And he opens it up, and she's laying there, but she's not moving, and then she moves. You know what I mean?
Her eyes pop open and like her eyes open reflexively.
Right.
Yeah.
But she sits up and she does like and I'm like, okay, there's that one I'm having a hard time with, because I understand how that kind of stuff works, and it's like it's like she would either be moving, you know what I mean, and then like it's like if she was making that noise before he opened it, she'd still be doing that, you know what I mean? That was so that part bothered me, because if she was still alive, you know what I mean, at that point,
well, she's presumably not alive,
right?
Well, it's like a weird neurological thing, yeah.
Well, is it or is it not? Because they don't really because they may.
I think she's dead at that point. I think she's dead at that point.
I think so too, but the neurological
body supposed to sit up. I think it's supposed to be like one of those things, and it's just so nightmarish. It's just I wouldn't. Personally.
It gets the reality nerd in me a little bit. Like, okay, is that even like how it would go down? You know what I mean? But
you're in a nightmare. Yeah, you're in a nightmare. You're in a waking daylit. That's the other thing about this. Most of it takes place in the daytime, although of course there's a very memorable night scene. It's you're in a nightmare at this point. Now, of course, you do have the horror needs to be grounded in reality when you're doing this kind of horror. Absolutely. This isn't like the Italians where they're, would just crumple up, reality and toss it out the window and just hit you with just pure surreal imagery, trying to replicate, a nightmare. But this is, this is based very much in the real world. It's just a very, very dark corner of it.
Right. And that's probably the most creepy part of it is like, it's, you never know where you can run into something like this. You know what I mean? Like if you only lived in the urban side of the world, you know what I mean, and you've never experienced the rural side of the world, this movie would seem very unrealistic. If you had
city people, yeah, I know people. Like I grew up in the suburbs, but I lived in the city for a while, lived upstate for a while, and have been to the South a little bit. And yeah, people I know who are just strictly like city people, they come out to the suburbs and they're like afraid, like, wait, aren't there like raccoons and stuff out here? It's amazing the stuff that they're afraid of.
Well, it's like, okay. So like if you've lived out in the boonies in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Then you understand why gun control is a bad idea. And it's people like this that exist in the real world is why gun control is a bad idea. Because that's like the only defense from like
Leatherface.
Kind of, yeah, well, no, it's not just Leatherface, but any kind of home invasion, any kind of, you know what I mean? Any kind of situation. Because
I'm a gun owner.
It takes, how long for the cops to get there? I mean, here.
Forget about that.
Yeah, where I live, the cops might be here in 5 minutes, if they're in a hurry. Out there, the cops show up in 3-4 hours, if at all.
I believe in some gun control.
If there's a cop you can call. There might be a sheriff who's elected who doesn't even do his job.
Right. Absolutely.
And
and also, you're talking about, people that live in rural areas. My God, there are people getting killed by pigs right now. in parts of Texas. Did you hear about this?
I have not heard about that.
Yeah. It's like a real problem. My God, you live in Alaska. There's a fucking polar bear beating down on your door. Yeah, I'm gonna want a 12 gauge. Heck, I'm gonna want a fucking 50 caliber machine gun and a flamethrower.
I'm not. See, the animals don't frighten me. It is the drunk hillbillies,
Right.
possibly inbred,
Yes.
that are looking to come into your house and buck fuck everybody inside of it.
Yes.
And then
like kill you and turn you into tacos.
Yeah, right. And like, okay, well, that's just ridiculous. No, that's reality.
Oh yeah, it happens. That happens.
And in fact, most home invasions are exactly that. They don't necessarily eat you afterwards, but they will come in,
Yes.
they will rape, pillage, kill, take what they want, destroy the rest, and you won't be discovered for weeks.
Yep.
That
man, I live in the suburbs and I've got weapons everywhere.
Well, I got weapons here too, but it's when I lived in the Midwest. You know what I mean? It's like it was weird because people tripped out that I didn't have a gun, like all the time. Not necessarily on my person, but like most people out there, believe it or not, this is like weird, but most people out there keep a handgun in their glove box. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's that weird at all.
Because you drive from point A to point B in the Midwest on long, desolate roads, for 30 minutes at a time, where you can be stopped by who knows what, who know where, any given time, and you better be prepared to fucking protect yourself because you don't know what you're going to run into. And that's
especially if you're a woman.
Yeah, well, especially if you're a woman, but it is it's dangerous for women, but it's dangerous for men too, because there's people out there that are super freaky, and
Yes.
I mean a woman being raped is not as creepy to them as raping a man, so they like it more because a man can put up a better fight, and a man's going to be scarred from it more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's just not that women raping is good or anything, or it's better for them or anything like that. It's but like
Less
a lot
likely
of
to be reported.
it's just different, like a lot of women are raped, in their relationships, you know what I mean? Just not like physically raped. They just lay there and just like take it, like Color Purple, like
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just taking a shit on me or something, you know what I mean? They just deal with it. You know what I mean? Because women have that mindset already to some degree, you know what I mean? Whereas men fear going to prison for the ass rape.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's just two different mindsets there, and they're just not parallel or comparable. So
I would agree with that.
Oh man. Okay, so let's jump ahead to the next moment of tension. Oops, something went wrong, apparently.
Curse you, Netflix! Yeah, that scene in the woods is absolutely fantastic. Especially that, I don't know what it is, that brush that, that Marilyn Burns is, she gets her hair tangled in it. It once again feels very much like a Grimm's fairy tale, though, like the forest almost seems alive, like these hands that are kind of hanging on to her.
Yeah, it takes you totally like Red Riding Hood, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Kind of where there's just something that can always jump out behind any tree in the woods. You're trained to think of eyes watching you, and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Woods are just scary, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may not be able to. Netflix may not cooperate with us. They are making us take longer.
Hopefully, folks, if you have Netflix, your results will be better. Will be better.
Right.
But definitely check this movie out because it is not to be missed under any circumstances. But also, if you're not a hardcore horror fan, be forewarned. It's a nasty piece of work.
If you are not acclimated to horror, this would not be where you start. I would not recommend this to be your first horror movie because you might get scarred for life.
I just remember seeing it as a boy. I think it was re-released in like 78 or 9, and I remember going with some friends and we snuck in, right? And I think we came in through the exit. And I remember it being so much better than I thought it would be. I remember because even as a little kid, I was still, I was a little critic, and I was expecting something much trashier and nowhere near as well made. And my friends were very disappointed because they had come to see gore. And Friday the 13th had already been released at that time. And they were disappointed because there wasn't all this gore. And at that age, I wasn't really a splatter movie fan. And I was just kind of in awe of it and just how well it was made and how it made me feel.
Like at this point, you can sense the panic, and they're like, and I mean, the thought that going through my mind is like, what the hell are they doing? You know what I mean? It's like they're out of gas. It's nighttime.
Yes. And
they're outside the van.
Yes. Although they're not completely out of gas, I don't think. Are they?
I thought they were completely out of gas. That's why everybody was walking off.
Well, I think they were looking for more gas because they had stopped for gas at the gas station. But I think they still had enough maybe to drive back to the gas station, which is what I would be like, well, that's what they should have done. But, well, I don't want to give away any plot points here.
Yeah.
Trying to be as spoiler-free as possible.
As spoiler-free. Let's see if this will start to react in a positive way without giving a whoops, something wrong happened. We don't recommend that you stream and stream out and in at the same time. Apparently Netflix does not respond well to that at any given time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Shudder's any different.
Carrie was fine though. We had no issues at all with Carrie.
Yeah.
So
that worked out great.
So it's probably got to be that Netflix is just a little bit busier right now due to the holidays.
Shall we wrap this up? Or do you want to try another scene?
I'm going to try another scene, but I wanted to but basically I wanted to get to the grandfather. I wanted to get to that
grandpa.
They're really
he's the best. Ooh, that's so creepy. Pure nightmare fuel, man. Pure nightmare fuel.
I wanted to get there. You know what I mean?
It's so gruesome, so intense.
Because I mean, the first time she sees Grandpa right here when she runs into him, I thought Grandpa was dead, just another one of their corpses, or whatever. When I first saw it, then Grandpa's a fucking alive.
Yep. Yep.
And lives on human blood because he can't chew, apparently.
Yeah. It should also be mentioned that he makes a return appearance in Texas Chain Saw Massacre Part 2.
Yes.
Which is another movie I highly, highly, highly recommend. I think that this is pretty much the best American horror, easily the best American horror movie of the 70s. And controversial opinion, I will say that Texas Chain Saw Massacre Part 2 is the best American horror film of the 80s.
Now that was actually like a nice. I love when they do that. Like they got the full moon, you know what I mean, and it just like use it as a segue You know what I mean? And you hear them yelling, and it just shows the moon. You know what I mean?
Yes, and also it's worth mentioning that the opening credits, that the red colors that you see, that's a shot of the sun. And also, I think one of the girls, not Marilyn Burns, the other chick whose name I forget, is reading from an astrology magazine and is talking about the position of the planets, how it augurs bad things, that it's it's not a good night to go out.
And what makes this extra creepy is you're in a wheelchair and you're in the woods. It's not like you can run. You know what I mean?
Nope, definitely not.
And you could easily get stuck. You know what I mean? Or fall or get trapped. I mean that is just like an overwhelming inconvenience.
Oh yeah. I would not want to run from Leatherface in a wheelchair in the woods. No.
Yeah, I don't think you can run from Leatherface in a wheelchair. It's hard to run in a wheelchair.
Yeah. What he needs is there's this exploitation movie called Mr. No Legs about a guy with no legs who's a gangster who has 12 gauge shotguns, double barrel shotguns built into the handles. Ooh, his grandma didn't make it.
He's like, another one.
Yep. Get that bitch, Leatherface! Get that bitch! Yeah, one of the actors watched this in a movie theater in Times Square and vowed never to watch it again because some of the audience were cheering for Leatherface and urging him on.
Huh?
Get that bitch!
Yeah, well, people are fans of Darth Vader.
Times Square audience, man. Leatherface on her ass.
Running with a chainsaw.
Running with a chainsaw. And of course, this is pretty much the scene that the title has been promising, that the whole movie has been promising, and it absolutely delivers.
And she looks back to run into a tree.
Yep. Yeah, her tactical thinking right here isn't exactly great. Classic shot. There it is, man. That's the money shot right there.
There it is.
That's a shot that was used in the trailer.
Of course
it is. Freeze frames on Leatherface breathing down her neck.
And she thinks she's safe for a moment.
Yep. She's run back to the gas station / barbecue shack. Which, by the way, a little trivia right here, that place has been restored and it is a barbecue restaurant.
There's no need to do that. Nobody's gonna hurt you.
Good old Jim Siedow, man. He's great in this. Yeah, when he was beating on her with the broom. If he didn't quite sell that enough, it's because he was very, very concerned about hurting her.
Right. You know, it's you ever seen it was it I think it was the first one, the Harold and Kumar movie, where when they get in the middle of nowhere and they get to that house with the hot wife and the freak.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Never mind. You need to watch it.
I know.
The first Harold and Kumar movie? Yeah, you need to watch it.
Well, it's on my list.
There's a scene in there that's inspired by all this, and you need to watch it. So we can discuss it.
Sold.
Hey, you did good. See that nice girl? You never went to get upstairs with your grandpa.
Oh God! And when he starts yelling at Leatherface, and then Leatherface does a very good job of defending himself, and he's just sort of groping for something. He's like, "You ruined the door." So there is actually some pretty black humor in this.
We'll fix you some supper in a few minutes, huh? Get back in there! Get in there!
And he's wearing the other guy's face and hair.
Yeah. Yeah, he has 3 masks in this.
But he's wearing the one that's one of their friends right now.
Yes.
The one that left them to go look for the others.
Yep.
That she was looking for. He's wearing
Yeah.
leather face, wearing his face and hair.
I think it is too. It's not terribly obvious, but yeah.
You're supposed to be able to tell by the hair.
Yeah. Unlike this, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is extremely gory. Has incredible gore effects by Tom Savini.
Yeah, but that was like that came out in the 90s though. So you know what I mean. They have a whole different, they had to take a different approach.
No, I mean, yeah. Well, no, it came out in the 80s actually, but and I remember the first time I saw it, I thought it was
the one
garbage.
with McConaughey and Zellweger, right? Talking about the one with McConaughey.
Oh no! You're thinking of the fourth movie. You're thinking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. Yeah.
No, that's Joe Bob Briggs. As much as I respect him, says that's the best horror movie of the '90s. I think he's insane for that opinion, but a lot of people would say I'm crazy for saying that Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is the best American horror film from the '80s. And then there's Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3, which is okay. Tobe Hooper only directed the first 2, though. And Kim Henkel.
Some of the very best horror movies were invented in the 70s, though, man.
Oh my God, it was such a great time for horror films internationally. Spain was producing really great horror movies around this time. Italy was coming really strong.
Here comes the stuff of nightmares.
Yep. And it's worth mentioning, they were insane when they shot this scene.
What's worth mentioning is foreshadowing. That your whole family is vampires. Well, exactly.
Yep. Absolutely. Without a doubt. When they shot this scene, they had been awake for about 28 hours.
His baby like hands like a
baby.
Oh
yes. Oh,
like a throwing baby.
Yeah. Oh, that's so gruesome. Yeah. Oh, it's so bad. But yeah, Marilyn Burns said that it took her a long time. What's up, El Gargoyle?
What's up, buddy?
what was I saying? Oh yeah, and also Gunnar Hansen had never been high in his life, and one of the crew members prepared some brownies for this scene. And you're talking hippies. Who knows what else they were doing? They'd been awake for 28 hours. But everybody that was there for this scene says that they were all insane, like literally out of their
Yeah,
minds.
this scene's pretty wild because
Her screams are real.
There's like almost, yeah, and there's like almost like character depth in it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Gunnar Hansen even said at one point like that he was like thinking like I'm gonna kill this bitch. Like for a second, he said.
You can make him stop. No shit. Shut your mouth.
I'm gonna jump ahead.
Absolutely.
Can't show them everything. They gotta come
Yeah, that's
back
what
and
I'm
watch the
saying.
movie.
You know what I don't know if you want to show them the end.
Yeah.
Remember,
I want to show them. I want to show them the final chase.
Come on!
and that iconic final shot, of course.
Give me the hammer!
Yeah, we got to end with the iconic final shot.
Yeah, spoilers.
Worked the first time. Let's try it again.
Yeah, I don't think I'd let a wall stop me. And once again, we're in the daytime. Leatherface on her ass again.
Leatherface, iconic costume.
Yes, absolutely. And the hitchhiker's chasing her. He's slashing her with a razor blade here too. Like he's not even trying to tackle her. He's just like he's just happy as a pig in slop right there. And 18-wheeler. See ya! Really, the only gore shot in the movie is him getting crushed by that truck.
Right.
The truck driver. Man, God bless this dude.
Oh, fuck that.
He's so great. Oh man,
I would have driven off.
Grabs the monkey wrench. Oh yeah, baby. Oh, poor Leatherface. And I love how she gets in the truck, and the truck driver just keeps booking.
Right?
He just keeps running. He's gonna be in Mexico. Oh man!
But does his truck still drive? That's the thing. It's like, why did he just drive off?
Yeah, well, it's I don't think he had much of a plan. He started
running over to that dude that didn't disable his whole truck, did it?
Nope.
Is she laughing? Is she crying? Is she insane?
Yeah, exactly. She survived, but what's really the point? And always the murderers, the killers, the monster always dies at the end of the film, and not here.
Right. Yeah. There's a room for a sequel because there's no killers dying except the hitchhiker.
Yes, it was replaced by Bill Moseley as Chop Top. And if you're wondering what Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is like, it is, imagine a Rob Zombie movie if it were good. All of Rob Zombie's movies are copies of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. And that's the one you want to look for. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, not 2, because it's just 2. It's a sequel to the remake.
You know that Sid Haig is from my hood, man. He actually
is he really?
Here. Yeah.
No shit.
Actually, yeah. I wouldn't say he was a good friend. We were like hang out with each other buddies, but like he knew me by my first name, and I would run into him in the Waffle House and shit.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, seriously, he was pretty righteous, dude.
Rest in peace, Sid Haig.
Rest in peace, Sid Haig. Definitely. Good. Yeah, he's a really good dude. Really good dude.
That's what I heard. I mean, he was doing like a charity thing, I think, like days before he died, and like knowing that he was like on his way out too.
He got really sick for a while before he passed away. He was in the hospital, and then they had a car accident, and then there was. The actual story, I didn't hear about it firsthand. Obviously, I heard about it from the news, but so let's see here. Just so I don't sound like an idiot, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I actually Google it and do it properly. So that the official.
And Tobe Hooper also. We just lost him. I think was it less than a year ago? Was it this year or was it last year? I think it was this year. And It's a real shame too because Tobe went on to do Poltergeist, which was a huge hit. He did Life Force, which is an awesome movie. But unfortunately was a box office bomb. Ended up doing really, really crap direct-to-video movies. A remake of the Toolbox Murders, Crocodile 2. His career didn't end in a very auspicious manner, but he gave us some real classics, and I think he is one of the icons of American independent cinema.
Yeah, this doesn't say anything about the car accident, but it does talk about how his health was declining a long time before. I mean, I knew he was sick. You know what I mean? It's just I thought there was a car accident which accelerated the condition, but that's not mentioned here. So, but anyway, I was gonna talk about that in detail, but obviously there's no point if I can't verify it with some kind of factual, because then I don't want to sound like an asshole and an idiot that somebody's talking about. So.
That's all good. It doesn't hurt to be careful. But yeah, Sid Haig definitely one of the icons, not just of horror cinema, but of low budget cinema, cult cinema, exploitation cinema.
Hundreds of movies, yeah.
Hundreds of movies, and he's great in them too.
Over decades, many decades.
Yes. Spider Baby. That I think that might be his very first one, by the great Jack Hill. Also the very last sober performance by Lon Chaney Jr. in that.
Right.
And he said that Lon Chaney Jr. was just a sweetheart, but obviously a very troubled man. But he actually cared enough about that project and that script to stay off the sauce for the 2 weeks or so it took to film it.
Right. I'm actually looking while we're talking here. I'm looking up the Sid Haig filmography to because there's a movie title I can't remember.
And as much as those
Okay.
Rob Zombie movies
Wait,
suck
wait,
ass, he's
well,
great.
As I was flipping through this, do you remember the Sledgehammer series on TV?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
General Skull Fracture was his
Yes.
character. I remember
Yes.
that always killed me.
Galaxy of Terror, that's another great one. It's like an alien ripoff, but like a really, really good one.
And he had a returning role in that Lee Majors show, The Fall Guy. What was the character name? Yusef. Yeah, there it is, Yusef.
Oh yeah, he did a lot of TV.
Yeah,
Buck Rogers TV series,
Fantasy Island, A-Team. Scarecrow, Mrs. King. T.J. Hooker.
Yeah, he worked a lot.
Dukes of Hazzard
Oh wow,
as Slocum,
it's a great name.
right?
And as much as I'm dissing on the Rob Zombie movies, the House of a Thousand Corpses DVD has one of the best menu screens ever, and it consists of Sid Haig. Have you seen? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Did you know that Sid Haig was in Foxy Brown, and his character's name was Hayes. He was also in Shaft as Higgett's bodyguard.
Oh yeah. He was in a lot of blaxploitation pictures.
Yeah,
quite a few. Quite a Coffee. I think he might be in that too, possibly. I don't think he's in 3 the Hard Way. But yeah. Anyway, the DVD for House of a Thousand Corpses.
He was a returning character in the Wonder Woman series. He was Gregorius in the Wonder Woman series.
Wow! Yeah. Oh, I love that show when I was a kid, man. Linda Carter.
I'm reading the list. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. His IMDb listing's got to be sick.
I mean, of course, he was in James Bond: Diamonds Are Forever. He was the Slumber Inc. attendant in Diamonds Are Forever.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow!
Right? He was.
Yeah. That's so cool. But what was I saying? Yes. House of a Thousand Corpses DVD menu screen is friggin' hilarious. It's him dressed up as Captain Spaulding, and he's basically welcoming you to the DVD and waiting for you to make a selection, like play, scene select. And if you just leave it, he's just standing there waiting, and he starts to get annoyed, and he starts cursing at you, and he starts eating a jelly donut, and this goes on for like 20 minutes. It's hilarious.
All right, so I got a couple more of these. They're gonna like go, oh yeah, wow. Okay. Star Trek, the original series.
Yes, I remember him in that.
As the first lawgiver.
Mm-hmm.
And then Batman TV series as the real apothecary. Apothecary. I can't say it. You know what I'm talking about.
Apothecary.
Yeah.
Apothecary.
Right. And then he was the mummy in the Lucy show.
That I didn't know. That's cool. That's pretty badass.
And then in the Untouchables TV series, he was Augie the Hood. And his first credit here is a short called The Host, and he plays the fugitive, and it's dated 1960.
Wow. Damn. So you're talking about a career that spanned...
We're talking about a legend.
60 years.
Legend.
Amazing. God bless him, man.
Yeah.
God bless him. May he rest in peace, man.
And he didn't look his age either. That was the beautiful thing.
No, he didn't.
I mean, he's freaking in his 80s, and he looked like he was maybe in his like late 50s, early 60s.
I remember he was in like a lot of Jack Hill movies. I think he might be. Was he in Switchblade Sisters? I forget.
Switchblade Sisters.
I
don't see it on this list.
Coffee. I think he might be in that.
What year was Switchblade Sisters?
Oh, I forget. That's late 1960s, early 1970s. God damn it! Now I gotta look this up.
Do you remember that cheesy TV series Misfits of Science in the 80s? Yes. That he was Swarthy Man in that.
Swarthy Man. Oh my God. Yeah, he had a very, very, very long, the Big Dollhouse. Yeah, man. Once again, opposite Pam Grier, The Big Dollhouse. That's a great movie. Yeah, he made all these exploitation movies in the Philippines, man. Oh, he's in Bone Tomahawk too, which I keep meaning to see, but I haven't seen yet.
What's it called?
It's called Bone Tomahawk. It's like a Western horror film.
He plays Buddy. That's from 2015. That's a recent one. I have not seen that.
No, I haven't seen it either. I keep hearing it's awesome. It's got Kurt Russell in it, and it's he's in Hatchet 3, which I still haven't seen.
Yeah, Hatchet 3. He plays Abbott McMullen. Yeah. Oh man.
Good God, y'all.
Mad respect for Sid.
Crazy respect.
Yeah. It would just be insane to run into him. You know what I mean? And like, you know, it wouldn't be like, oh, he's a movie star or anything. It's just like this, you know, like this guy that you know who's in a as if that was just his job, because that's
right.
Just his job. Yeah. And then if he you know, at the first couple of times he remembered my name, I was way impressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just got to the point where, like, you know, it was like we were just distant. I would say that we were one step closer than acquaintance. You know what I mean?
Right.
We were friends because we were on a first name basis. You know what I mean? And I had seen him at some parties and a lot of events that I'd go to. He'd be there, you know. And then there were quite a few times that we would just be standing next to each other and shooting the shit. You know what I mean?
He did a lot of horror conventions too, and had a reputation for being like just like a really nice, approachable guy, like very unpretentious.
Every Halloween, he would have a booth set up at Hobbs Grove, which is like a Halloween, a horror like thing where there's like a couple of different haunted houses and all that kind of stuff. It's like a little makeshift just for Halloween, like a little, you know, small carnival, but there's no carnival. It's just like haunted houses and a little haunted forest and
right.
Yeah, and then a bunch of booths and stuff where people are doing makeup and selling shit, and you know what I mean. And,
right.
And he would be there working at like a convention. You know what I mean? The whole time.
Nice.
Yeah, that was always there was always somebody waiting in line to talk to him. The whole night, every night, he had fans constantly.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's always great when you see people like him getting the love from the fans, directly from the fans during their lifetime. You know, to me, that's always to me, that's what conventions are all about. They're about love. And, you know, it's great when, you know, you've got these people that may not be mainstream stars, but, you know, they may not be movie stars to regular people, but they're movie stars to us.
Well, no, you see, the thing is, most people realize Sid was a movie star. He just wasn't a big name. You know what I mean? But he was a face that everybody recognized, even if they didn't know who he was. It's like, I mean, he would tell me stories about people who would stare at him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
It's like that was something I always found funny. That was like something he like I think that was probably like one of our longest conversations. He was telling me stories about these instances where he would just be like, people were staring at him, and then he would do this thing where he'd go, "Wow!" just like
right, because it's not that people mean to be rude, but it's just like, I know you from someplace.
Yeah, you can say something. You don't have to just sit there and just.
No, of course not. No. That's awesome that he would have fun with it.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he was a very, very nice, very grounded, very down to earth, very cool, very appreciated that anybody would care to even like, you know, ask for his autograph or anything. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you look at the history of his work and you're like, you know, well, he could deserve an ego. If he had one, he would deserve it. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. But you I mean, you know what a trap pride is. And you know, when people have real humility, it's a gift to themselves. I think that people that are very prideful or boastful, like I've never met Stephen King before, but I know people who have met Stephen King, and they all say the same thing, which is that he's just a dude. And it's just like talking just to like anybody. Same thing with George Romero. I never got a chance to meet George Romero, unfortunately. Everybody, same exact story. A dude, just a guy, you know, somebody with absolutely no pretensions whatsoever. Somebody that, you know, that came from a working class background, that really kind of saw themselves as lucky. Even though, of course, you know, I mean, luck always plays a part in any success, but you know, you're talking about somebody who was like a huge talent, but just, you know, you know, you always hope that when you see people like that, you think to yourself, damn, if I'm really successful, I want to be like that dude. You know, like that's somebody that's handling it well. They're not high off the smell of their own farts. They're not believing all the, you know, the smoke that's being blown up their ass, you know, because sometimes people who are successful can be surrounded by people that are blowing smoke up their butts. And I always feel like if you know, take life seriously, take, you know, your relationships with people seriously, take your work seriously, but don't take yourself seriously.
Well, I will defend them to one degree only. And that is, there are some people out there that need to constantly put themselves in a state of head trip to continue to deliver on their art.
I could understand that. Yeah. I could understand that.
Now, for those people, I give them all the slack they need because they got to do what they got to do. You know what I mean? James Franco would be one of those people. You know what I mean? He has to do some really weird shit and treat people really weird ways to make sure that he gets his fucking head straight. You know what I mean? Because he does a lot. He really throws himself into his characters and shit. So
his Tommy Wiseau was spot on. Have you seen that the movie? Oh, my goodness, man, right on the money.
If he's ever watching this, you know, give me a call. If I had my first choice of any actor to play Captain Love, it would be James Franco.
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be badass. I'm looking forward to getting my copy, man. You should plug that real quick.
Yeah. Everybody, if you don't already know, and usually the people that come to watch my videos have no doubt because they've already figured it out. Captain Love is available on In Demand, and you can go to Indiegogo at any given time and search Captain Love, or search Captain Love on the internet. Just go to Google, say Captain LUV, and you will find links to the Indiegogo where you can get a copy of Captain Love, which will be shipped to you the very next available business day for shipping, because I have books here in my possession. I have trading cards here in my hands already. I have the physical books, the variant cover, which you see here, and the original cover. And these are the actual books. Brian hasn't got his yet, so he can't, you know, like swear by how awesome it is yet, but maybe next week he'll be able to do that. No, I was on the spot. I was like, no, I gotta say that's awesome. Fuck you, Drew. I was like,
your book looks awesome. My book's going to be awesome too. I could say it because everybody else says that it's awesome. Critics are super nice and everything. And yeah, it's first 6 issues of the book, and then I'm planning on February launching issue number 7.
And rush to his book right away. There's a link in the chat right now. I won't hide the chat later, so it should still be available. There's a link in there, just Gun Gorilla, and he's hitting the button tonight. And so, I mean, like literally, as probably when we get off this chat, he's probably gonna hit the button.
I am. I'm gonna do it.
and it's either gonna shut down right then, or it'll shut down sometime soon after.
Yes. But
we have a chat record of 2 hours and 24 minutes.
That's right, a long time to be blabbing about Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
And I didn't realize how long we were going, and we actually went longer than the whole fucking movie.
Yes, we did.
We went like an hour.
Thank you, Netflix.
We went an hour longer than the movie. and
it's all good, man. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Always a pleasure talking about horror movies. You know me.
Yes, and let's just make sure that if anybody's still watching, or if anybody who's watching this in retrospect gets to this point, please subscribe, like this video, subscribe to Brian's channel as well. The link's in the description. and come and keep coming back, because we're going to be just talking horror if it's just the two of us, but we're hoping that you guys come and get interacting, and we want to know what you want to watch too. So, definitely.
Hell yeah. Just getting started.
Just getting started.
Oh, and El Gargoyle, Texas Chain Saw Massacre Part 2 doesn't have Bill Morrissey. It has Bill Moseley. Just so you know. Just had to point that out. But thank everybody that's active in the chat. Thank you. Also, your presence and your thoughts are appreciated.
Yes, and El Gargoyle actually has already got his copy of Captain Love. He actually posted a picture of it on Instagram that I saw, and I appreciate it. Yes.
Sweet.
Yes. I can't tell you how good that feels to see the book end up with people. You pretty much already know, because you did the whole the conference thing. You got to fucking get that.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, man, whenever I see you or Clint or anybody else getting their books, I just feel elated, because I'm like, oh, like this is gonna feel so good for you guys. Like you're gonna be psyched. And once you start seeing your book in people's hands, that's the payoff right there, man. That's the payoff.
I am excited.
Enjoy that.
Yeah, and everybody needs to get a book. So everybody go buy a book.
Word.
All right, I think we're gonna go ahead and call this a night now. Any last minute wrap ups from you?
None whatsoever.
None.
My mind's a blank.
My mind's a blank. All right. Well, then, since your mind's a blank, we will fire it and hurt nobody. No.
Okay. Hey, blanks can be deadly too.
At point blank in someone's eye,
yes.
maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we're going to end the broadcast. Everybody, thank you for showing up, and we shall see you later. And El Gargoyle, thanks for coming. Bye.
Peace out.